I grew up a church kid, like Bible Belt. So I was born in Tanzania, East Africa.
Okay.
Moved to the States when I was young.
Time out. Born in Tanzania. So let's start there. Like, what was that like?
I mean, it's hearing my mom talk about it and hearing my dad passed away several years ago, but hearing him describe my mom said she worked for the government and made $10 a month. And she was like, we lived in a 2-bedroom apartment that cost 50 cents. And I'm like, what are you even talking about? So I was 2 when I moved to the States.
Okay.
And we lived in Alabama. So yeah, there's I've talked to a lot of second generation Africans who were all the same age now. And we're like, yeah, all of us our parents immigrated here in the early 90s when we were in diapers. And then we're growing up American, but our parents grew up very, very third world country, African, poverty, all those things. So yeah, it's a wild dichotomy.
Yeah, I mean, Tanzania and Alabama, I mean.
Yeah, similar. Tomato, tomato.
That's wild. So 2 years old, you came here and then,
grew up here. And then my parents always wanted to go back to Africa. They're like, we want to go do ministry in Africa. So, and they would tell me this, and I was growing up, I'm thinking like, I saw things, I'm playing N64, we have friends with 4-wheelers. We're doing all we went to a private school. I was playing basketball. And then when I turned 11, my parents were like, all right, we're going to move back to Africa. And I was like, what? What? And at that time, we lived in South Carolina. And I was like about as redneck as most people could get. I was on track. I was awesome. On the track. I wore overalls, all the things. And then we moved back and my parents planted a church. So before they moved
in
back,
Tanzania. And now you're 11.
Yeah, I was 11. Yeah. So it was what, but before that, the real the spider bite of church comedy, I guess, if you will. If me being Spider-Man, the spider bite was when my parents became missionaries. 2 years, I think a year and a half or 2 years before we went back to Tanzania, they were like, all right, we have to raise support through the denomination that we were with. And that consisted of going to a different church every Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, and sometimes Thursday or Friday. And so we went to so many different churches in North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia for years. And so just hundreds of evangelical church experiences that just got, filed in my brain.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where
you got a content library.
Oh, yeah, man. I'll ruffle through them and be like, oh yeah, this. People running around with flags, and people are like, how did you know that? And I'm like, yeah, I've seen it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's crazy, man. Like, so all right. So you fast forward, then you're 11 and now you live in Tanzania with your family?
But live in Tanzania with my family.
And what is that like?
Once again, that was the biggest culture shock punch to the face I've ever experienced, because I'm super American. I don't speak Swahili. I didn't speak Swahili at the time. I do now. I had to learn the culture and ask questions and try to make friends, and then try to learn the language and and then my parents were like, also, you're going to be homeschooled. So it was a lot. It was
you're like
huge.
A Tanzanian.
Yes.
American missionary to Tanzania.
Yes.
That's yeah, I can't imagine.
People are coming, because also I look Tanzanian.
Yeah.
So people would come up to me and just speak, paragraphs in Swahili. Oh yeah, mambo vipo. And I just go, man, I have no idea what you're saying, man. I'd have to call my mom over. Can you translate? And just tell them that I don't speak the language. And then Africans, they do this thing, man. They're like, they hate that if you're not African enough. So that's the whole thing too. So then I'm getting berated for not knowing the language. I'm like, I've been here for 2 weeks, man. I lived in Effingham, South Carolina. So yeah, there was a lot. It was a lot at once, but it was a really great experience. Looking back on it now, I think at the time it was really frustrating. A lot of lashing out to parents, being a preteen, all those things. I think I told my parents both. I was like, let's just go back to America. I want to go back to South Carolina. As little African boys say. That. I want to go back home. This isn't my home. So there was some of that, but looking back on it now, I'm like, it's a cool experience.
No, I'm sitting over here thinking like, wow.
Now, I would never do that to my kids. I don't know. I jokingly say that, but it made me who I am. So we actually just had lunch, my wife, and we have 3 kids who are 5, 3.5 and 2. And we had lunch with some friends who have 3 kids, and they're going to a country in Asia to do mission work. And they were telling us about that the other day. And I'm looking at their kids because their kids I think their oldest was around my age. So I'm looking at him. I'm like, whoa, like, that's how old I was when I went back to Africa. And they were just asking me like, hey man, what was your experience? So I got to speak with them, pretty candidly about like, yeah, man, it was a lot, but at the same time, I had my siblings and my parents, and we had a good home foundation, and we figured it out. Made a lot of mistakes, but we figured it out.
How did the comedy come about?
Initially, it was really clunky. But also I knew that it was clunky. I knew that it was bad. So that's what really helped, because right. I knew I was kind of funny, and then my brother was like, hey, you should upload stuff to YouTube. And so he taught me how to upload. typical big brother, like fussing over my shoulder while I'm all right, hit whatever. Now you got to write the description, and now choose it. And I did it. And I mean, I watched a lot of videos. I remember thinking, my video does not compare to these guys. But I like what I did. And so I want to get there, but I'm going to keep doing this until I get there. And so I don't know if are you unself-aware if you claim that you are extra self-aware?
Yeah. I think it depends on who you're talking to. Cause like I feel like I'm pretty self-aware in the last 5 years. But my wife will laugh. You know what I mean?
I was even like hesitant to say that. But I was just self-aware enough to go, hey, I am not making good content, but I want to make good content. And I even, people would compliment it sometimes. I'd be like, you're just saying that because you're my friend. You know what I mean? Like, I want to get to the point where people just go, hey, that was great. And I knew I wasn't there at the time. And so I just kept pushing. Like, I just kept doing it.
Well, it's like a passion thing.
Oh yeah.
And I think people lose sight of that. Like when they look at this and like, it's entrepreneurship. Like you found something you love and you're like, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Can I survive off of it? I got to adjust my way of living. Right. But like, you gotta lean into it because you care. And like, you got to be your biggest fan, because it feels like everything you do, you can't deny the fact that you're like, maybe this is the one.
Right.
This is the moment. This is the thing that gets me found. And like, and then it's just haterade, baby. And like, that's where most people quit.
Oh yeah.
They can't take it. And so like, and I tell people like, if a negative comment or someone's opinion can sway you, then you're not building on the true foundation of what you're wanting to do. You're chasing something for an opportunity, for a monetary opportunity. You're not chasing a passion. And man, I'm telling you, like people look at Barndo and they're like, how in the world this and that? And like my wife laughs because like people be like, oh, your husband was a bit, how that's so cool. Like he just started a business and y'all are successful. And she's like, do you know how many stupid ideas this man has had in 20 years? Like this is like number 172, and then it worked. He's just dumb enough to not quit having ideas. and like that kind of moment. So like, all right, so you're doing that, you're figuring things out. You're like, I know it's clunky, but it's I like it clunky, and you're happy.
I'm fine, man. I'm pulling the lever and I'm losing every time.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
You're like scratching for the next penny.
Oh yeah, man. But the next penny at Papa John's delivering pizza. I'd take a paycheck and be like, I'm buying a microphone. They're like, what?
Yeah. People ain't gonna understand it, man. Most people don't understand that. Like
I tell people a great maybe this is wrong, but a great idea never works on paper. Like maybe some people do. If you're building something, it has to work on paper before you do it. But most in like the creative space, if you write it down, like if you just go, hey, okay, so I'm going to buy this camera and I'm going to convince my friends to work for pizza, and then we're going to make a thing, and then it's probably going to do, I'm going to upload it to these 4 platforms and see how it does. And then that doesn't make any sense. Also, it's not going to work if you're starting out from zero. But so I try to tell people, I've been married now for 6 years, and sometimes I'll tell my wife an idea. She's like, you should talk to somebody about that. I'm like, I can't, because I sound crazy. You understand what I just explained to you?
You are my person.
You are my person. I need you to trust me. And it might fail, but kept showing up. I kept showing up.